Welcome to this short video on use of LLMs and data protection. What should students know about privacy when using AI systems? Should we really worry? Well, in 2023, researchers obtained numbers, addresses, and phone numbers from ChatGPT. They managed to extract original training data from ChatGPT. They used specific prompting techniques like asking ChatGPT to repeat words to do that. More than 15% of the extracted training data contain personal information. Personal information seems to be not safe in LLMs. It's unclear how this data became part of ChatGPT. It probably has been entered via prompts, or it could have been also part of the training data. Well, what are the potential threats of using LLMs, large language model, or other generative AI systems? Which issues of data protection are relevant for me as a user? And what are the general dangers of sharing data with companies? A brief overview of the content of this video. First, I'll explain details about privacy. Then I'll briefly talk about LLMs. Then we talk about the main issue. What is the problem of LLMs and privacy? And last, what can we do to avoid any issues? Well, why is privacy important? First, privacy relates to personal data. That is any information that can be related or to an identifiable person. It can be different pieces of information collected from different places and brought together. They can identify a person. Simple examples would be name, address, IP address, location data. Sensitive personal data is even more problematic. It relates to an individual regarding race, ethnic origin, sexual life, or criminal activities. Now, why is that important? Imagine you talk about a night out. You might tell your parents about it and you might tell your friends about it. Maybe you're not telling them both exactly the same. You control what they know about your night out. So we constantly control what others know about us. That's very natural. And if others, like big companies, know everything, we lose this control and communication will change. So let's have a brief look at large language models, LLMs. LLMs are models which are trained on large amounts of text, over 300 billion words. Training means, well, they consider similarities between words and they learn sequences of words based on these similarities. So models like ChatGPT are based on the transformer architecture that is based on neural networks, and these take in a sequence of words and they try to learn how words follow upon each other and predict plausible next words. So LLMs are surprisingly good at producing sequences of words. But they don't have a model of correctness of the information in that sequence of words. They might generate wrong information, which is often called hallucinations. So LLMs do not think or they do not know anything. They simply produce sequences of words. What are the issues of LLMs and privacy? Well, LLMs are based on data. And OpenAI and other companies can make their systems better with more data. So they are interested in obtaining ever more data. And they even tell us that they use our prompts or any text that we enter also for that training. So that information is also stored. OpenAI writes, we collect personal data that you provide in the inputs to our services, including your prompts and other content you upload. So all of that is stored. OpenAI also gives your data to others. It says we may disclose personal data to our affiliates. We don't know exactly which companies receive the data, and these companies might want to make money by displaying ads or by other means. And from storing your IP address of access, the LLM might be able to identify your inputs to other data collections, from web tracking. So the system might even know more about you than from what you enter at the specific portal, at the specific platform. So your data is stored, used for model training, and given to others. So you should be aware that it's problematic to put confidential content like names, phone numbers that can be identified in future sessions. Remember that attacks on LLMs can reveal private data and others might receive that data. Sensitive topics maybe should not be discussed with an LLM. Would also be stored and connected to your account. Such problematic information could consider prompts on financial problems, learning difficulties, physical and mental health, family problems, and whatever. For example, a prompt like, well, recently I feel bad after classes and I need to stay in bed for 2 hours. Do you think that I could have depression? That reveals a lot about you. That's something a company should maybe not know about you. Profiling based on text input works extremely well. Your questions might reveal how much you know about a topic. Do you ask very simple questions or not? So, in your field of study, the system might know your knowledge level. Also, the level of support that you request is quite obvious in prompts. Do you ask for only little help, or do you want that a system writes an entire paper for you? That could also be very relevant for future employers. And text input reveals even much more about us than what we can see in the prompts. There is a lot of research on identifying problematic conditions like depression from text input. So be aware that you're giving all that information to an LLM or to other systems. Furthermore, the GDPR, the General Directive on the Protection of Personal Rights in the EU, grants citizens a lot of rights. They can ask about information about stored personal information. They can ask for deletion of stored personal data. However, in LLMs, that might be quite difficult. Data might have already been sold to other parties when you ask for deletion. And it's technically not even clear how data can be deleted from a trained model. Even when the text data is deleted from a database, the model might have still internalized this text. So a lot of problematic issues. What can we do? Well, first, of course, try the obvious. Do not enter private information like names, medical conditions, financial situations, or any other sensitive data. Try to avoid names. Consider the topics in which you engage in a chat with a commercial AI system. And check the policies of an AI chat system. Furthermore, you can use privacy-friendly providers and avoid that your prompts are stored and associated with your IP address. For example, duck.ai is a privacy-friendly provider. Also consider using technology that enhances your privacy, like a virtual private network VPN. That way, the system might also not be able to associate your input with your identity. What else can you do? If you have access to that, maybe use LLMs that are hosted at universities. The text that you enter there is not used for training when an open model is hosted. Or even when this input is forwarded to OpenAI, it's access to a common account and it cannot be related to your identity. So that's very positive. Thank you very much for your attention. And here are some references for this short presentation. Thank you very much.